Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Marvin's Room. Yours truly have a very special guest today. Has already been on my channel. I've already been on his channel. We are very like-minded in this law of assumption, law of attraction space. The one and only Tim Grimes. Welcome.
Thank you, Marvin. I want to
hold on. We gotta do that.
Hello. We just lost 50% of our viewership, but the people still here are very intrigued.
Yeah. Appreciate those are the real ones. That's all we're worried about. We're really only worried about those ones that stay.
That's what we were just talking about before we went live. Exactly.
But no, so Tim, I'm glad to have you back. You are one of the few people in this space, handful or less than a handful of people in this space that I enjoy talking to about anything law of attraction, law of assumption wise, especially when it comes to manifesting a specific person, because as you know, the market is so saturated with get your SP overnight type of material, get your SP in 2 days, get your SP in 24 hours. And while that sounds good, I think the law of assumption community has drastically misled people with their expectation of when to get a specific person. And we wanted to talk to the viewers today about the nuance, right? The actual nuance behind manifesting a specific person and what actually is going to go into, what actually has to go into manifesting a specific person, because some of these content creators have just made it seem into something that it really isn't. And even taking Neville's work, because Neville is the one that is at the forefront of all of this stuff. They have taken Neville's work and they've made it sound like, oh yeah, Neville says this or Neville says that. And it really isn't Neville's teachings in a sense. It's kind of become whoever the content creator is teaching. And I want people to understand Neville has done it. Neville does a great job of telling you what to do to go to the end, in my opinion, right? When it comes to manifesting anything, specific person, whatever, he does a great job of telling you what to do to go to the end. But in my opinion, what people like myself or what people like Tim, what we do is we do a damn good job compared to other coaches in helping you guys deal with the middle of that. So where you're at currently to getting over here to where you need to be, Neville, in my opinion, he's not one of the better teachers, and I know this is going to sound blasphemous for me to say, but he's not one of the better teachers, in my opinion, that talk about what to do in that in-between stage of manifesting a specific person. He'll tell you, go to the end. That's all you need to do. Or Abdullah will tell him, go to the end. And when you think about Neville even got frustrated with Abdullah when he was like, yo, you're in Barbados. He's like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, you know, and you could tell that there was that kind of, Neville was probably getting irritated saying, what are you talking about? I'm in Barbados. What do you mean? Like, why am I already there? No, I'm not. I'm still over here in the States. I'm not even in Barbados yet. I haven't gone first class. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? And so I've noticed that a lot of people, they have a hard time in really understanding and studying the in-between part. And I think, Tim, that's what we want to talk about today is, you know, really helping people understand that it's not as easy as just affirming and living in the end to getting an SP, and that you have to know how to navigate. And this is where coaching with myself or with Tim comes into play, because a lot of coaches, quite frankly, they're not gonna do that. There's really no coaching involved in this space. It's really just here's 5 affirmations or whatever, and I'm gonna send you back into the real world on your own with no guidance, no nothing, you know. So I guess Tim, you can go ahead and start to touch on that.
I'm amped. I'm trying to I'm trying not to get too energetic right away.
Nah, we need it.
You amped me up there, Marvin.
Yeah, we need it.
Marvin, you're actually, I think, the only SP coach that I talk to and trust now. I know some other good people in the community, but no one else who actually does SP coaching that I know personally, and does it well. And yeah, what you just said, oh God, that was good. What you just said is like, people really don't like to hear this when it comes to Neville's stuff. But if you have studied Neville's work and the work of some of his contemporaries and some of the people that came before and after him to talk about manifesting ideas, such as manifesting a relationship.
Right.
Neville does a relatively poor job at telling you how to go from point A to B.
Yes.
He tells you how to live in the end. He
Right.
does not tell you how to deal with quote unquote resistance all that often. There's
Right.
he sprinkles it in, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, he does.
But his teaching is so dramatic and so eloquent. It's like, just live in the end. And it's so persuasive when you first hear it that you're like, okay, I'm just going to do this and it's going to work. And maybe it does work at first or whatever. But the truth of the matter is, it's not going to work long-term for your big goals in all likelihood without some serious inner work and looking at going from point A to B. And that journey or process is really what, I mean, that's what this manifesting stuff is about. I mean, that's what it comes down to. So that's is the process. And as great a teacher as Neville is, what he's saying, living in the end, is not going to work for the vast majority of people consistently. What does that even mean? It means walking in the wish fulfilled. What does that even mean when you really think about it? You know, I did a video a few months ago, maybe longer now, where there was this great quote. I don't know if you saw this video, Marvin, where Neville's quoted, I think in the mid 60s, after the promise. And he's saying, you know what, all these techniques, all these things I'm basically famous for, he goes, all that stuff's just figurative. He goes, that's all just to get me to believe.
Right.
So it's like, what the it's like, wait, what? I mean, and he said that before. Again, this is not a heavy knock on Neville at all. It's just his approach is very dramatic. And if you can live in the end the way he described, yes, you've got a very good chance of manifesting what you want or something significant, positive into your life. But all this stuff sounds great on paper or when you heard him speak at a lecture. But how about 6 months later when what you want hasn't manifested yet and you're full of all this doubt and fear that it's going to happen and perhaps shame for it not having happened, and you're going online looking for advice or getting quote unquote coaching when it's just emails or groupthink conversation or groupthink group coaching, and you're more lost than ever.
Right.
I mean, this is one of the several elephants in the room when it comes to the law of assumption in SP community, but it's like, I've worked with many, I don't consider myself an SP coach, but I love working with SP clients who want to work on the relationship they have with themselves, you know, people who are serious about that stuff. They're a pleasure to work with. And what I hear time and time again is they don't come to me first for SP stuff. Believe me, they don't want to hear Papa Bear Tim. They've you know, bought the pretty candy at the store and eaten that from the SP coaches.
Yeah. And
they've gotten coaching from SP coaches if they feel like they need it because they're desperate. And they've left feeling completely unfulfilled and perhaps basically manipulated, in the sense where it's like they weren't actually provided strong emotional guidance grounded in their situation. They were given rote affirmations or general recommendations for what to do, but it wasn't something they could integrate into their life emotionally, psychodynamically, and have it profoundly affect who they are. And you need law of assumption advice to affect who you are in order for the other person to show up, generally speaking, right? So yeah, I mean, we were talking before we started recording this. It's just like, it's kind of a bummer that people have no idea what actual SP coaching is, because so little of it exists, you know? And in my opinion, it's a lot like just going to counseling or therapy or doing serious inner work of, personal self-development work of any type.
Sure.
Serious inner work. It's not a fucking technique. It's your life. It's you. And it's very fulfilling to do that kind of work for any topic that interests you, just to try to feel better, right? Basically, and to have a more fulfilling life. But it's inner work. And that's what coaching is. So I know it pisses both Marvin and I off when people say, "Oh, why should I pay for coaching?" It's because you have no idea what coaching actually is.
Right.
So this is our bitch session of us just bitching about that.
No, you're right. It's and then when people do pay for coaching, and it's not what they think it is, then now they slap that stigma on all coaches. Well,
Right.
I paid this coach and all they did was give me 5 affirmations, or I paid this coach and all they did was tell me exactly what Neville said and to just live in the end, or whatever the case may be. But it's so much more nuanced, and it's nuanced to the point to where I always tell people there's no one size fits all. And I also tell people, like, I made a video about this recently, however many weeks ago. I made a video talking about, you know what? The one thing that, and now it's good to get into alignment, whether you're following Abraham Hicks or, Neville or whoever. It's good to work on your self-concept, and it's good to get in alignment. But I literally made a video a couple of weeks ago telling people, you know what you may not be doing that you should do if you want to get a specific person back, whether new or old. And I literally said, make the first move. I said, now, what do I mean by that? An SP coach isn't going to tell you that. I said, but sometimes we get so caught up in thinking, I need to do this technique, I need to do that technique, not realizing, yo, we really live in this 3D world. This, and all these coaches tell you the 3D is not real. The 3D is not real. Yes, hell it is. You know what I mean? Like, the 3D is 100% real. We're breathing right now. We are alive. If you get shot, you're going to feel it. The 3D is very real, And so I told people it's good to do those techniques, and that works. But some of these people, I realized in working with people, they are still in contact with their specific person. Something else I realized with some of these people is their SP situation isn't as bad as they think it is. And so I'm sitting here, some of these people, I'm working with them, and I'm thinking to myself, dude, all you literally have to do is just send a text to them, probably. And
just talk to them.
Just talk to them, and you'll probably get them back.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's you don't have to do all this living in the end and
it's insane.
Meditate for an hour every day, and you don't have to work on self-concept necessarily. It's literally all you have to do is make the first move. Send that text message, call them. And but see, these are the nuances, in my opinion, that people like yourself or me, we can point out and save somebody time potentially.
Save people freaking years.
Yeah, exactly.
And oh gosh, I mean, that's the irony, is like, we've both made tons of videos on this. I've got my SP playlist where basically the one of the reoccurring points in almost all the videos is like, use common sense first when it comes to relationships. Don't do stupid metaphysical tricks that you don't really know what you're doing, instead of doing the right thing. The right thing usually being, first and foremost, follow the golden rule. Do unto others what you would have done to yourself. That usually means really good communication and being honest with the other person, even if it hurts.
Yeah.
Even if it hurts you. And that means talking to the other person, sussing it out. Texting is good. Talking like over the phone or in person is even better. Providing them the space to say what they want to say and listening to them. I mean, there's so many good, books and there YouTube videos from non-manifesting folks about relationships and just better communication. I really think following that kind of stuff is much more beneficial than most of this manifesting advice. And I mean that. Now, most of the SP clients I have are women, but I do work with men as well. We both are guys, especially for guys. Forget the fucking SP stuff. I'm going to have to use some gruff language here. Make the fucking move, especially if it's like you want to meet a girl or a woman, whatever. I'm not going to be that PC here, but it's like you make the fucking move. She wants you to make the move. That's very attractive. All this manifesting stuff is fucking C-, D+ material compared to I'm interested in you. Conveying that, being open and being like, oh, I'm intrigued by you, I'm attracted to you. That's how you manifest a fucking girlfriend, guys, generally speaking. And I mean, honestly, like this dating stuff, it's like, I've worked with a lot of guys on dating stuff over the years, and like the manifesting SP stuff, like for just like meeting a woman, if you're a guy, that's not like high level shit. Like it's not as good as like just being like authentic and like, in showing your masculinity, showing strength, but also openness. That's much more attractive than fucking this stuff. Now, if you've been in a relationship, if there's a lot of back and forth, you know, if you want to really energetically connect with someone, some of this SP stuff can be very helpful. But especially if you're a guy, and this goes for women too. If you're a woman and you're attracted to a guy, if you can somehow convey that, again, this can be subtle, it can be nuanced, but if you can convey that openly, that like you're interested in just finding out about this person because you're interested in them, that's incredibly attractive. And most guys are scared too. They're not going to be like, well, now let's go on a date, but you can lead them on. The woman can lead in this way. It's just a fucking relationship. This is the easy part, is getting into the relationship. We'll go, I mean, we've talked about this before. Maybe we won't get into it because we'll both go off on crazy tangents, but once you get into the relationship, that's when the problems really start, guys.
100%.
That's the real shit.
100%.
Like, come on, you got to deal with shit. I've been married for, I don't know how long I've been married for. Gosh, I've been married for 11 years, you know, and like, I still have to talk to my wife and have difficult conversations with my wife all the time.
Right.
And I would have what you would consider probably a pretty good relationship.
Right.
It's like, where's the SP stuff there? The SP stuff is golden rule, listening. It's not like, oh, she's in the other room, I'm going to fucking visualize the end result of her coming in happy. No. Honey, do you want to talk? Let's talk. You're mad at me. Okay, let me see if I can listen. Okay, I might need to sleep on this, but I'm listening. I love you. I love you. Oy, fucking vey, Marvin.
That was great.
I'll give you 5 affirmations and everything will be solved.
Yeah, right. That's probably what somebody would say. All I want you to do is say for the next 30 days is I'm loved, I'm needed, I'm wanted, I'm loved, I'm worthy. But no, you're right, man, because that, like you said, that's when I tell people all the time, when you're not in a relationship and you're just doing all these visualizations and affirmations and your SP's not in your life, that shit's easy. But when your SP shows back up, or when your new relationship shows back up, or whatever, that's when you know, okay, how much work did I really do when I was single? How did I really transform in that time period when I did not have my specific person? That's when you know, because and that's another misconception, and that's another thing that I don't think people talk about a lot in this law of attraction, law of assumption space. And Neville does mention it in one of his lectures. When he talks about Jesus Christ, and Neville says it himself. He says you are going to experience evil, basically. He's like, you are going to experience whatever. I don't remember exactly how he worded it or phrased it, but he was basically saying you're going to have tribulations. You know what I mean? You're going to have trials and tribulations. And I think what people don't understand is, I think people think that once they master LOA somehow, which you never, in my opinion, master this stuff, it's ongoing your entire life, in my opinion. But people think once they get it down or whatever, they think, okay, I'm not going to ever have problems in my relationship. No, that's BS. You will still have problems, most likely, in your relationship, and problems still may come up, but you will have the tools. If you work with the right person, you will be able to have the tools in your toolbox to be able to know how to deal with those problems when they come up. Like you said, whether it's just hey, can we have a conversation? I don't, and I think that's one of the big problems in relationships is whoever it may be, the man or the woman, they expect their partner to be mind readers, and we're not mind readers. And so if you're having a problem, just communicate with your partner and say, hey, you know, I'd like to come talk to you, or about whatever the problem may be. And I think another point you touched on, and people don't understand, but people don't understand in this law of attraction, law of assumption space, especially when it comes to manifesting a specific person, whether it be new or old, it could be as easy and as simple as understanding masculine and feminine energy. Because these energies, like all of these laws in the universe, go together, and masculine and feminine is a big part of what makes a relationship work or not. And some people could have had failed relationships simply because one party was not in their masculine or was not in their feminine when they were supposed to be. Because I tell people all the time, two masculine people in a relationship, it's not going to work. It's a ticking time bomb. There needs to be that balance of somebody's masculine and somebody's feminine. And if you're a woman and you're masculine, 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to attract a man who's feminine. And it probably isn't going to work, because history shows us that most times that dynamic does not work. Not saying it can't ever, but the statistics show you probably, listen, that's not going to work. It has to be, the man has to be in his alpha and it has to be in his masculine most times, and the woman has to be in her feminine a lot of times for it to work. And it's this way in same-sex couples as well. Even in same-sex couples, a lesbian couple or a gay couple, it doesn't matter. There's always somebody who's more masculine, and there's always somebody who's more feminine. So this really isn't a gender thing. It's just the law of the universe where the masculine and the feminine has been created to work together in harmony. And the reason we see so many problems in relationships nowadays, in my opinion, is because that imbalance is there. It's there. There's too much masculine energy in the world, and there's not enough feminine. Everybody wants to be a boss. Nobody wants to listen, and this is why relationships are suffering, because I don't want to listen to you tell me what to do. It's my way or no way. I'm the decision maker. And so these are the nuanced problems that people run into when they get their SP, that people like Neville and other coaches on YouTube, in my opinion, don't talk about in this community. And I think people like yourself and myself, I think this is the type of stuff we understand when we work with people and we can tell them. Like I literally just had a guy, and I'll pass it to you after this. I literally was just working with a guy a couple of days ago through email, and he was upset. I forget what he was upset at. He was upset at he wanted to see his SP a couple times over the summer. There was like he asked her like 3 different times over the summer, and he kind of made it a big deal. And I explained to him, I said, well, why didn't she turn you down those 3 times? And the reasons he gave me were extremely valid on her end. But you see, in his mind, he was blowing it up and making it into something that it wasn't. And so I told him, I said, this is a mindset shift that you need to correct on your end, because the reasons she didn't want to see you were very valid, because of her parents potentially. I forget what the couple other reasons were. Because I think she was the 3rd time was, I think, because she was getting ready to leave to go abroad somewhere. You know what I mean? And so her reasons were valid. It wasn't like she was just ghosting him, like, no, I don't want to see you. I don't, you know what I mean? And so, but when people go through these things with their SP, they hear these things in their mind, and their mind processes it in a bad way. And then until they talk to me or you, we get them to realize, hey, actually, this is not a bad way. She actually didn't mean this in a bad way. So don't be upset at the fact that she turned you down 3 different times. Her reasons were legit, because I probably would have turned you down too, if I was coming to see you. You know what I mean? Just little stuff like that.
Of course. Yeah, no, I mean, it's like, it takes maturity to listen to your partner and to feel bad and to feel like maybe you're wronged, but to at least try to turn the other cheek,
Yeah.
and like, you don't need a coach or a therapist or a counselor or, go to couples therapy in order to do that. You don't, you absolutely do not. But it usually makes it a lot easier to do it if you're doing one of those things, if you're having relationship issues you want to work on. It's, it's just relationships, almost by their very nature. There's the masculine feminine thing, which people don't really understand. And again, I like to be very general about it. I'm not like, I think you said it well, we're not trying to make any like bold statements here, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But like,
Yeah.
but like, there is this energetic thing in relationships, and it's like, there's that, and then like a lack of, one could say communication, but just like a lack of just being listening to the other person. And when you're in a relationship, a lot of time, it's like you might feel like you're right, but I feel like you still might want to sleep on it or reflect on it before you say anything, before you say you're right, because you basically always want to give your partner the benefit of the doubt, or assume that their viewpoint is valid, like you just gave with this issue with this couple. And I mean, it's just, again, having good communication is so helpful for doing that. And I think that's something that we all communicate in different ways, but hopefully with your partner, the person you've decided to be with, you figured out how to communicate well. And if you haven't, it's very unlikely that that's going to be a fruitful long-term relationship, even if you stay together. So the name of the game in human relationships is communication and love, and space. And it's, again, it sounds so obvious, and there's so much good material on this, yet we see a very sensationalized version of this when it comes to dating advice and SP advice. Because let's not just call out like SP advice. I mean, dating advice in general. It's like you read Cosmo, or what's the guy one, Maxim, or not Max. What the hell am I thinking?
Yeah,
What's
that's it.
Maxim, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like this, it's like the worst dating advice possible, and just like to touch on the masculine feminine thing. And again, like, I don't want to be too concrete here, but I do completely agree with you just based on experiences that I've had.
Yeah.
I remember being in my mid-20s, because I think a lot of people are just miseducated about this. Like, especially like if like you're trying to be sensitive and stuff. But I remember going out like on like, it seemed like a date with a girl, but like it wasn't a date. And like I leaned in to kiss her, and she's like, "Oh no, it's not like that." And I remember walking away from that and being like, I never want to feel that again. That experience, like my masculinity being so misinterpreted because I was so wishy-washy, so beta, right, as opposed to alpha, like during the day. And I never did. I made that decision. And it doesn't mean I didn't make several mistakes. And what it was, there was a lot of stuff I had to go through, like before I found before I met my wife. But but it was realizing that, like, what, this energetic thing, like, not only is it like it valid, but like I have to experience it. It's like the Neville stuff. Like, it's one thing to hear the theory, or like be alpha, be masculine, or like, or embrace your femininity, embrace your openness. But it's another thing to do it. And like what we're talking about in terms of getting coaching or counseling or therapy or whatever it is doing it. And that's very different than just watching people on YouTube talk about it. Because it's great to watch people on YouTube talk about it if you then implement it and integrate it. But like, people watch 100 videos and don't integrate even 1 or 2 of the videos. You're better off watching 5 videos and just integrating, 1 of them. Like, that's what you should be doing. It's not like you have to integrate everything we say or anyone says. It's you take the best and you try to implement it. That's all I've done with Neville's advice. I mean, that's why I always talk about relaxation, because that's the only part of his advice that I really, really, really understand, is the relaxation aspect. The other stuff, it's like, oh, that's interesting. I can see how other people can benefit from it. But like, that's all you got to do. But relationships are like, here's the thing. Most people want to be in relationships, right? And if like you're a good person, have good intentions, chances are you're going to be able to eventually meet someone who also is a good person and wants to be in a relationship, and that it just takes time and self-work to make you more aware of that. So
yeah, well said. I mean, I don't really have anything to add because that was just so well said.
This is a good rant session. I'm glad we did this.
Yeah,
hopefully people get the bigger picture. We're not just ranting, guys. So this is
no, it's more so of a, I mean, that's the one thing I don't think a lot of people talk about, in my opinion. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that because I don't watch videos. So maybe some people are out there talking about this, but
yeah, let us know. Leave in the comments if people are, because Marv and I are both like kind of off of.
Yeah,
we were joking about this. We just make videos. We don't really watch many channels anymore. So
exactly. And so I don't know. I don't have a clue out there if people are making videos on how to really deal with 3D problems. Because as I started off saying earlier in the conversation, I just don't think Neville, and when I used to check out videos, I just don't think people did a great job, whether it was Neville's readings or anybody else on YouTube. I don't think they did a great job at telling people how to really behave and respond in the 3D when you're faced with a problem, when you're faced with the third party, when you're faced with all of this stuff. A lot of times you hear, when I used to watch videos, people would just say, ignore the 3D, but that's easier said than done. Just like living in the end is easier said than done.
Exactly, it's just a saying.
Yeah, like what does that mean? What is ignoring the 3D? How do I ignore the 3D? So how do I ignore, what steps can I take if I see my person posting stuff on social media that's making me upset? How can I, what do I need to do? Is it them? Is it me? And I've told people, and I told somebody recently I was working with that, dude, you're insecure. I straight up said it. And I was like, you need to work on your insecurities, because that's one of your big issues. You know what I mean? It's doing living in the end stuff is cool, but even if you live in the inn and you get your specific person back, you're still going to be insecure if you don't work on that. And guess what? You're probably going to lose them again. So
the great phrases like live in the end, you know, wish fulfilled, all that stuff, they just don't. I use the phrase all the time, like watered down. You know, they don't mean what they meant when Neville initially said them, because they've been watered down by all these teachers. I also want to give a shout out to my friend Maggie, for those on your channel.
Yeah, I know Maggie.
Who don't know her
great.
stuff.
Yeah.
Neville Goddess is her channel. She is the exception for it. She's not a coach, but if you want like what real SP stories are like and like what really happens, Maggie has the best videos about SP stuff, and like they're extremely personal. A lot of them are extremely long, and it's like you watch her videos and it's like you're watching something from another planet compared to the people talking about like manifest your SP in 3 weeks. So that's a good example of like the in-between stuff. Yeah.
100%, 100%.
All right, man. Well, it was real. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Tim, as always, for another organic conversation and to discuss the realness behind the nuanced details of manifesting a specific person and what to look for and how to really get coaching on this stuff instead of a band-aid, essentially, to try to fix it. So till next time.
Till next time. Thanks, Marvin. See
Yes,
ya.
sir.